I'd like to take you back to the year 2007 to a time where Kimya Dawson and the Moldy Peaches were the talk of the town. And I don't know. That was me attempting to do an interesting introduction, but I'm just gonna default to I'm your cult boyfriend. We're talking about Juno today. I love Juno. I love it so much. I'm so happy I rewatched it today. I haven't watched it in quite a long time. I got like pretty emotional during it. It's a bit of a tearjerker, isn't it? Uh, it's a it's a sophisticated and heartfelt kind of teen movie. It's one of the best teen films, one of the best offerings from us millennials. I remember seeing this movie when it came out in theaters on a double date. And, I remember just all of us being kind of equally charmed by it. Let's do an analysis. I mean, first of all, I think it's a rather significant film considering that in the 2000s, um, the U.S. had the most teen birth rates, like of the entire developed world. Of the entire developed world. A lot of teen pregnancies, and I think Juno is really important because it's certainly not a cautionary tale. It's a celebration, in fact, actually. And also, it's not a pro-life film. It's not. I saw Elliot Page in an interview, and he gets pretty aggravated when when he hears someone call Juno a pro life film because he's like it's all about the choice. It's all about having that choice. It's literally a film about choice and choices, not simply between choosing to have a baby, giving up for adoption, or having an abortion, but also choices of maturity. First of all, Elliot Page, brilliant performance, right? Juno is one of the most legendary teen characters of all time. She's up there with Ferris Bueller. She's up there with every character Molly Ringwald ever played in the John Hughes films. She's up there with the John Hughes character. She's one of the greatest teen film characters of all time, and Elliot Page did a remarkable job, remarkable, totally encapsulated. I can at least speak from actual experience and encapsulated a whole generation. Diablo Cody wrote the film, and I I used to think Jennifer's Body was probably the most interesting thing Diablo Cody ever did, especially within the teen drama or the teen film. But having just rewatched Juno, Juno is a lot more complicated. I had certain reservations or fears about rewatching Juno because I do remember the uh, the script being a little try hard, right? A little too unique for its own good, a little too spunky for its own good, but it feeds into the millennial kind of self-identity, nonconformist identity, where we would inhabit and choose to use certain annoying slang that we thought was so clever, that we thought was so unique and so rich, and we thought we were just so offbeat and so cool. And I think that Juno, the language of Juno, uh, perfectly captures the annoying slang that millennials adopted and tried their tried so hard to make sound authentic. Um, Even though I really can't imagine being Diablo Cody and writing some of these ridiculous fucking lines. Like, that's one doodle that can't be undid, homie, home skillet. Isn't that what she has Rainn Wilson say? Like, okay, some of the lines are ridiculous, but everything with Juno is great. Elliot Page did a remarkable job. Elliot Page was so good in this film, and Juno is such a strong and offbeat and nonconformist character, a character who never conforms but truly does become more mature by the end of the film. Just startled by it. I'm not as impressed with the visual design with Jason Reitman's composition. I don't think it's bad or anything. I just think that if I have criticisms, they are of like I hate the opening title sequence. I hate how twee Like visually they tried to make it because if it runs the risk of going overboard, it's visually. Honestly, I think that populating your film with lively Kimya Dawson and Moldy Peaches and Belle and Sebastian songs is a very good idea. Velvet Underground as well. Like, there's a very cool soundtrack that millennials really did latch on to. We were into this kind of ironic, I mean, possibly even twee kind of music, anti-folk at the very least, because anti-folk was kind of like an ironic and anti-pop culture sort of way of playing pop music. And Juno, I think, fits into that kind of rebellious sort of mentality quite easily, seamlessly. And Michael Cera was great in this film. I think Michael Cera and Elliot Page have remarkable chemistry. I say remarkable a lot, mostly because Juno is truly a remarkable teen film. Um, yeah, Michael Cera was so good here. My God. Polly Polly fucking Bleeker, man, so good. But Juno, that's her, man. That's teen film legend. That's so iconic, so iconic. And I love the character. I love her because she's nonconformist. I love her because she's strong. I love her because she's smart. And I love her because she's loyal. And I love her because she's like the most sensitive human being in the world, and she tries so hard and so pathetically to seem so indifferent. I love her so much. What a great character. Yeah, Elliot Page, really good actor. Good performance here. The performance that broke my heart, that got me so teary-eyed, was Jennifer Garner's. Jennifer Garner is, I think, mostly unsung for her work in general. Her performance on Juno is startlingly good. I think both Jennifer Garner and Jason Bateman are very good, but whereas Jason Bateman is pretty fucking predatory, and the whole thing about it is he's entirely immature. It's toxic in all of the worst ways. Um, Jennifer Garner is just so full of that maternal warmth, like so full of like a want and a passion for a child. Like it's so fucking like sad, man, and so good. Like she's obsessed with the idea of it because she feels incomplete without a child. And Garner's line deliveries or facial expressions, like they are so ooh, it's so like hitting. So impressed by her performance and absolutely impressed by Diablo Cody's rendering of those two characters, of the of the couple that are trying to adopt Juno's child. Wow. Wow, wow. Because if coming of age is really a deconstruction of youth, as we've learned from the postmodern films of the 90s and very early 2000s, we're entering into a new sort of sincerity when we get to the later 2000s and like the properly millennial teen films, like Juno. Juno probably being the most significant out of all of them. And with Jason Bateman's character and with Garner's character, you're getting like the spectrum of maturity. And we have Juno kind of traversing it, because she's becoming more mature as well. Key point in her becoming more mature is that doesn't equate to becoming more conformist. She's still anti-conformist to the bitter end, our girl for life, all right? But if we view it as a spectrum, Vanessa at the end of like actually being mature, actually being ready for a child, actually being a mother, actually being parental, actually being maternal. And then we have Mark at the very other end, played by Jason Bateman, who is not only immature, but he's absolutely unprepared to have a child, and he's so immature that his that it comes across in a bit of sexual insecurity, as Diablo Cody kind of beautifully demonstrates that he is incredibly predatory uh, in grossly self-pitying ways. They're remarkably constructed characters. And Juno originally starts to bond with Mark more, obviously, because they had the same taste in movies, same taste in music, similar aspirations, because Mark still wants to be a rock star, pathetically. But as Juno becomes kind of more mature, as she's carrying her child to term, um, she starts to gravitate more towards Jennifer Garner's character, Vanessa. And I think the most beautifully understated, or the most beautiful scene in the film in general, is when Juno is at the mall with her friend, and they see Vanessa is there, like hanging out with like one of her girlfriend's daughters, and the expression on Elliot Page's face, uh, he's so good at expression, like almost like a silent film star at times, because Elliot Page can give an expression that just breaks your heart. And Juno is looking at Vanessa from above the balcony as Vanessa's playing around with this little girl in this playground within the mall, and seeing how happy Vanessa seems and how kind of wonderfully she treats the child, and she's obviously imagining it's her own child. And then they run into her as Vanessa's getting off of an elevator, and Juno brings up something like he's kicking nonstop, and Vanessa's like, "Can I? Do you mind if I would feel it, possibly?" And then there's a heartbreaking moment because when Vanessa first puts her hand on Juno's stomach, there's no kicking. She doesn't feel anything. And oh my God, it's so heartbreaking. Like, ooh, ooh. And then that gets the tears going a little bit because Vanessa wants so deeply to feel connected to her child. And the tears absolutely start going. At least for me, these were really genuine performances that were beautifully, and the scene was beautifully written by Diablo Cody. When Vanessa starts speaking to the child in Juno's stomach, like sweet angel, actually saying like those perfect, perfectly motherly things, um, kind of rising above the insecurity that Vanessa does have. Uh, because Vanessa doesn't, I think there's a hidden layer to her character where she doesn't feel good enough, or she feels performative, like she's like a sweet angel and she speaks authentically, purely, and sweetly to the baby. It starts kicking, and then Vanessa just smiles, and it's that perfect Jennifer Garner smile of like acceptance, of love, of recognition of love. And she looks up, and Juno's looking down at her, like with the same, with the not with the same kind of smile, which I mean like in a maternal way, in the sense that Juno isn't deliberately like testing Mark and Vanessa's devotion to the plans of adoption, but she does anyway. And I think when she's looking down at Vanessa, um, feeling the baby kick within her stomach, uh, that's the most motherly that Juno looks, because she's giving birth to perfect family, and the perfect family is Vanessa and Juno's son that she eventually has. Like, Juno is at that point pregnant with every source of meaning that Vanessa has, with every source of passion that's within Vanessa, and Juno can see that this is good, that this is right, that this is meaningful, that this is in effect the way it's supposed to be. God, I love this film so much. And I love the whole, because ultimately Mark and Vanessa break up. Mark divorces Vanessa to go try to be a rock star and live at a loft, and you feel so bad for Vanessa. And then, of course, Juno leaves her a note saying, like, if you're still in, I'm still in. And when Vanessa first holds her son, and Allison Janney, who was great, by the way, who plays Juno's stepmother, uh, Vanessa turns to her and goes, "How do I look?" And she says, "Well, like a new mom, you look scared shitless, but you look happy," or something. But there's so much complexity to these characters that Diablo Cody wrote, and I'm just so impressed that Jennifer Garner, everybody acted them incredibly wonderfully. But so much complexity to Diablo Cody's characters here. Jennifer Garner's Vanessa is just so If she has a fear, it's a fear of being a bad mom. She wants to she's such a good mom that her only fear is being a bad one and thinking that people could tell, right? Thinking that people can tell. But no, they look like a happy, perfect family. And I love that this film, I think it's a deeply feminist film as well. And I think it's feminist in all the correct radical ways. Like, I do really appreciate that for all intents and purposes, Mark is the villain of this film. If there has to be an antagonist, he's the great he's the Judas of the whole fucking movie. He betrayed everybody in the film. But it doesn't matter because Juno is still like she says, like, I want the baby to have a perfect family, not a fucked up family, meaning I need you two to stay together, you know? But at the end of the film, she has already, because the mall scene is so important that I went over, that I covered, she knows that Vanessa would be, like, a perfect mother. So, I think it's such a deeply feminist movie because a perfect, life for a child is to be with a parent that loves them so much, so unconditionally, and with every single part of their being, essence, and body, right? And that's what Vanessa would do. So, like, Vanessa is a single mom. And this film is saying that is not only desirable, but that is to be championed, and made cinematic, and it's so cool, and it's so cool, I love that. I love that so much. There's a lot of things that Juno goes into. I think it's not, like, super complicated with metaphors or symbolism, with, like, visual vocabulary, but it certainly doesn't have to be either. It's you could call it a superficial film because, like, there's really not a whole lot of subtext involved with it, but that's fine because the text itself is so significant and so important to have been shared with teenagers in the mid to late 2000s. This was an incredibly important film that championed not only teen pregnancy, but young teen love and single mothers, right? And I think it finds maturity in a very inspired way, in a very anti-conformist way, where Juno, without losing any of her uniqueness, any of her raw individuality, understands that Mark is immature and that Vanessa is something to a woman to aspire to be, a woman to aspire towards, right? She understands the gravity of love, and she's not going to fight the gravity of love. She's going to go with it. Uh, Maturity in Juno, I think, is found in one of the most organic ways that I've seen in a teen movie. It's an effortless arc that Juno goes through, and it's simply about a hypersensitive young girl overcoming the defense mechanisms she's built up to fully express her love, devotion, and care for the people that she cares about, right? For the people that mean a great deal to her. Maturity is love, simply. Maturity isn't conformity. Maturity isn't something that's, like, inherently political. Maturity is love and realizing that you should treat what you love with love. It's a coming of age story about adult teenagers exist everywhere, like within Mark, right? What is immature in the world of Diablo Cody, in the world of Jason Reitman, in the world of Juno, what is immature is self-centeredness, is individuality at the expense of those who love you, is being hurtful. Being hurtful. I love the film Juno. Its maturity is love. Plainly, simply. I love this movie. It's actually great. It's actually so good. Yeah, I was half anticipating it being a little cringe, but I'm like, no, actually, this is fucking far and away masterful. So good. Very impressed. Loved it. I still love it. I still think it's great. I still think it's totally cool. Has my collar been ridiculous this entire video? Probably. Guys, thank you for watching my video. Love Juno. I think I have waxed poetic enough about the film. It's clear. I adore it 100%. It's boss. It's totally boss.